Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So, Summer Yuri has been out about a week. She's shaken up PvP Arena, and let's do a review for her in the style of my War of the Visions reviews. I've never done this for Nier Reincarnation because the game is not as deep and complex as War of the Visions, and so I never really felt that doing like a single character review was really called for. I would do banner reviews, if there were like 3 characters or something, but Summer Yuri is special. Long story short, she enables so many teams and other costumes in Arena, so if you enjoy the game mode, get her, use her, and love her. First, let's do some big takeaways. She is Anniversary Demus on steroids. She gives the team insane damage mitigation. She revives the power meta single-handedly. Her Awakening Zero is great, so she's kind to free-to-play users as well. And then her gun that she comes with, Sea Dweller's Fang, is so-so. To go in a little bit more detail on these points, Anniversary Demus on steroids. She has a similar character skill, but with an additional debuff. She has higher stats all around, and she has other reasons why she's more capable to kind of solo anchor a team more than Demus ever was able to. And that's part of why she leads to more versatile team building. For the insane damage mitigation, I'm not going to go over her the details of like what she does and her stats. I'll link to my banner review below for that. But it'll give mitigation for 5 hits for the entire party from the beginning of battle, and that is insane. Say goodbye to agility snipers. This alone changes Arena. Next is reviving the power builds. I've been talking about this and showing it off a little bit lately. I think to most folks, the arrival of Summer Yuri signaled the return of the dominance of tanky teams, but actually the power team, I think, is going to jump to the top. And then for Awakening Zero, I don't think I need to say much about this, but it's her passives that are the true game changers, and that's all maxable, even at Awakening Zero, so yeah. And then her gun, Sea Dweller's Fang, I think it's better as a secondary weapon rather than a primary weapon. She does have the 2 weapon skills that do defense scaled damage, but their multipliers are so low, they are half of that 3-star handout weapon that I don't think it's worth using for damage in the main hand. But, nice passives. You got the defense up and then the water boon, nice stats on HP and defense. And then probably we should use something else if we want to use her as a damage source. Maybe like the Blackhorn gun or something else. Okay, here, let's think in more detail about Yuri, just herself. What role can she serve in a PvP Arena team? What is good to equip on her? To be honest, I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's enough that she is standing there supporting the party with her passive abilities. The defense up, the damage mitigation, the HP up. She is there to buy time for your other 2 costumes. They are the stars, and they should ideally be the damage dealers. I talked about the power builds. Their greatest weakness was getting their weapons out in time before they were taken out. Yuri can buy you that time. But Provoke might be an interesting choice for her, especially since those are tied to water weapons. We got the Blackhorn Spear and then the Recollections of Dusk Fist from Lavania. If you wanted to buy your main attackers even more time, that might be attractive. But I don't think you should feel limited to using only water primary weapons with her. You will lose that 20% critical rate break, but as I've shown in a variety of videos, which I will link to below, I've used her in a variety of mono-element teams, and they've all worked fine, like in the top 20, top 10 of Arena, so I would not feel trapped to water. However, she does have the critical rate break on her character skill with water. That has great synergy with Anniversary Udil, who has other great synergies with her. So if you were to use her with Udil specifically, then maybe I would want to stick to water more often than not. Although, Mono Dark team, totally usable with that pair. Alright, speaking of Udil, I'll bring up a little chart here. We'll look at maybe obvious choices as partners for Summer Yuri, and then look at the pros and cons of each. I want to stress that although she is a tanky character herself, and that she pairs well with other tanky characters, this is not the only way to use her. You can certainly use her with 2 other attackers, or like one attacker and a supporter. And that's what I'm talking about with the power build. But if we look at Udil, his pros, he's got the provoke, of course, very useful in a tanky team. They have two different types of debuffs which stack. The attack break for the opponent, and then the critical rate break as well. And then here, extend critical percent break. Udil's critical rate break lasts for 30 seconds, but Yuri's lasts for 45. So, if you can fire off her character skill later than Udil's, you can extend the length of that critical break. You can have that last longer in the battle. And then for cons, I couldn't think of any, but if you can think of any, why you shouldn't want to pair these two together, let me know in the comments. Okay, and then we have Griff. His pro is Provoke, but he has more cons than Udil, basically because he's not Udil. But he also has to equip guns with Yuri. I would say he has lower damage output than Udil. I've seen some damaging Udils. It's not impossible to get good damage out of Griff, but maybe you'd be sacrificing too much else. And yeah, fewer synergies than with Udil. Okay, next we have Anniversary F66X, another great choice to go with Summer Yuri, and actually a good counter to her. I'll talk about that later. But their attack debuffs can stack, of course, and then F66X will give regen to your party. And then this unit is one of the best, I think, in the mirror match. And we're seeing a lot of like mirror match team building where people are kind of selecting just from these three, where people are selecting just like 3 characters from this list of 5. But this F66X can help you with that because she can remove some debuffs, which a lot of other characters will do on you. On cons for her, I put no provoke, and then low damage output from herself. Again, that's not impossible, but you'd have to build very specifically to get her damage up. Alright, and then we have Anniversary Demas. A lot of people are saying that Yuri replaces him. In most cases, yes, but you can also certainly use them together. But between the two of them, you would get a 100% attack break and then 100% defense buff. So that's attractive, and then give you one other whole attacker to do whatever. And then he's got decent damage himself, but under cons, they will have to compete for guns. They can't both use the water dark memory gun. And then no provoke from those two guys. And then finally, we have maybe my favorite of all of these 5, and that's Christmas Gale. I'm actually a little bit resentful of Anniversary F66X because Gale, she had her little, moment in the spotlight, but then 2 months later, F66X came out, and then she became the favorite of tanky teams, and I'm really happy to see Christmas Gale come back. But of all of these 5, I would say she has the best damage output. She's also one of the best choices for defense-scaled damage, especially with that Bloody Lars sword. And then both of these two characters, they can buff your defense, so that's cool. And then she gives a regen to the party. For cons, I put no provoke, and then defense scale damage. It's tricky to use, and it's tricky to build, and you need to pull certain things from the hatcher. So some people, they won't even be able to get off the ground with a defense scaled damage build. But yeah, funnily enough, with the arrival of Summer Yuri, triple tanky Outlast teams will be less effective as defense teams, I think. Like now, every team has Summer Yuri, so therefore every team is tanky, and so it's no longer enough just to outlast the other guy, because they're going to be tanky in addition to doing damage, so we also have to be doing damage. I don't think we can go so far into just tanky Outlast builds anymore. Which is great. The pendulum, it swung pretty hard towards, building up your agility over 4,000, and then agility sniping people. And then just a kind of a basic return to the tanky meta. We've been there, we've done that. But here, to get a more kind of vibrant, more varied meta, where we can kind of use whatever characters we like, that's really exciting, and that's a lot of fun. If Arena has been a little dry for you lately, then I highly recommend Summer Yuri, and just try anybody with her. But yeah, the groans about Yuri making the meta tanky and slow and homogeneous were of course premature. Alright, next let's talk about the just a couple counters to Summer Yuri. One of them is the power build, the other is Anniversary F66X. The power build, I'll show one of my recent matches lately. But most recently, with the Final Fantasy XIV Udil, you can kind of use any slow, damaging build. If you forget about agility and you sacrifice some cooldown, you can have enough damage to power through not only high HP, but also buffs, debuffs, and mitigation. And then getting the timing or order of skills right will also let you skip the one-time heal on provoke tanks. And then the other counter to Summer Yuri is Anniversary F66X, who can remove debuffs. And then Summer Yuri will hit us with two kinds to choose from. Being able to remove one of those is powerful. Again, I have a grudge against Anniversary F66X, but maybe now is a good time to start using her. Alright, and then we can end the video on thinking about future counters to her. There are a number of things possible there. Someday, I'm sure, in the game they will release costumes that can, like, ignore defense, or break barriers, or ignore mitigation, or whatever. But I don't think Summer, Noelle, and Demus, which are coming out later this week, will have those abilities. Instead, since a straightforward brute force attacker like Final Fantasy XIV Udil has shown to be good enough, my guess is either Noelle or Demus is going to be a top-tier attacker of that type, and then between the two, I'm going to say Noelle, since Demus has never been a top-tier attacker. And I see the trend in character design where like Demus and Argo and Hina are eternally like support costumes. Okay, that's my review of Summer Yuri. Super exciting to have her. If you or someone you know has just plugged her in for Anniversary Demus into your triple tanky team, I urge you to try many different things with her. More than you would think is possible. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.